So this is going to be a short version of the tutorial that I gave at Python Asia Pacific on Wednesday morning. It was a really long tutorial because it was hands-on. I actually had to do coding at the same time. So it was really exciting to see people working on it. So this is just the lecture part. So the way I did that was I did like this is 1 hour of lecture, which is these slide presentations, and then we had 2 hours of coding for that. So that's how the tutorial works. So at least it's going to give you the presentation so that you have an idea, a better idea as far as what Appengine is and how you may want to use it. Okay, instead of having to do it in PHP. All right, I think you already know enough about me, so I'm not going to talk about me. So in order to have a discussion about Appengine, we first need to talk about cloud computing, all right, which is running everything in the internet cloud, somewhere, up there, out there, okay? And this is a trend now, and the reason why it's a buzzword is because of all the different reasons that I'm going to talk about why it does not make sense necessarily for your company when you're building your own product to have to manage the hosting of your application in-house. In other words, at your company, do you really want to go and buy hardware? Do you really want to go find a co-location data center? Do you want to really manage all these things? All right. So talking about cloud computing is where you're basically offshoring that information away from your company and letting another company host your applications for you. All right. So that's the current trend now, and so that's why cloud computing is a buzzword. The problem is there's multiple levels of cloud computing that people can get confused. So what I want to do today is first discuss cloud computing, talk about what those levels are so that you can understand where all the different products and companies are that fit in the cloud computing environment, and then you can kind of see where everything fits and you have a better idea as far as what's going on. Okay, so cloud computing, I can define it using this pyramid, okay, and it separates cloud computing into these 3 different areas. Okay, so we're starting out at the bottom first. So IaaS stands for Infrastructure as a Service. And what that means is they're going to provide you raw hardware, raw compute power. You get disk, you get CPU, you get memory, you get machine. Okay, that's really what an IaaS is. So the most well-known provider of that is Amazon. The Amazon Web Services. You can go rent a CPU, EC2, you can rent disk with S3. Right? All you do is you give them a DVD that has the image of your operating system and your applications. You upload that, and they'll start up as many machines as you want. Usually, with that code, run those computers, and you can use S3 for large disk storage. All right. So that's infrastructure, and then one level on top of that is platform as a service. So that's where Appengine comes in. So Appengine gives you more than just the hardware. We give you an execution environment. You don't have to worry about supporting software like operating systems, databases, and things like that. We take care of that for you. There's another one called Azure, that's from Microsoft. So if you wanted to run your .NET application in the cloud, you would use Azure. And then the third one is Force.com, and that comes from Salesforce. So if you want to write a web application that integrates with your business Salesforce data, then you would write an application on and run it on Force.com. So as you can see, all 3 of those attack different markets. So it's not exactly like we're competing directly against each other. Okay, it's just that in the field it's kind of like separated into these areas. If you want to write an app that's very generic, you're probably that has a very good quota, then you would use Appengine. So all 3 of them are different areas. All right. So .NET is Azure, Salesforce is Force.com, and then everything else is Appengine. Why is that funny? All right. And the highest level is software as a service. So this is what you guys are all familiar with. If you just use, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, Hotmail, you're using software as a service. It's an email app that is hosted in the internet. You check your email by logging in with your web browser. It's not like you have Outlook and you're downloading it from the server, right? That's a local app. And if you're doing anything web-based, that's software as a service. All right? This, of course, now includes Google Docs. Okay. All right, so At the lowest level, of course, is the infrastructure stuff, and you pretty much you get your raw hardware like disk and power. Raw disk and CPU, and then on top of that, you get power plus networking plus a lot of cooling. All right, because there's a lot of machines and you need a lot of ice. All right, this is the way it is. And if you, as a company, want to do that for yourself, then your company has to invest in all of this stuff. All right. So what is Appengine? Appengine, okay, lets you, once you create an app and you deploy it to Google, you are being able to upload your code to run on the same Google hardware as the rest of the company. All right, we're sharing the same data centers as Gmail, Google Docs, Maps, Android, all the things that we run behind the scenes. You get to take advantage of it. You get to borrow it or pay for it, but you get to you have your app running on Google's network, Google's hardware. It's a great thing to do. And once it's available on the internet in the Google Cloud, then you can access it with a web browser or phone. Okay, so this is a very generic place for you to upload your app. So Appengine is a platform. You build, you test your app, you test it locally, you provide you a development server, and then when you're happy with it, you upload it to run live on the internet. Google, and we do everything for you. You don't have to worry about machines, network, storage, scalability. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. The reason is because building a web app is more complicated than you think. So you may have a great idea as to a new company that you want to have. You want to write the next Facebook or the next Twitter or something. You want to go really big. But not only do you have to do your app, but then you have to worry about other things like, okay, should I use .NET? Should I use Linux? And if I do use Linux, which version should I use? Should I use Debian or Ubuntu? There's just too many choices, right? Then you have to do research. And then you have to pick a web server. So, okay, I'm going to do Apache, but then what modules do I want to use for Apache? What database should I have? Oh, MySQL, Postgres, which one? And then you find out that MySQL has a thing where you're writing commercial software and you're selling it for money. You have to pay a license fee. And then should I use PHP? Or should I use Rails? Should I use Django? And so that's just the software stuff. After you're done, then you have to write logging code, you have to write monitoring code to make sure the system is up and running. You have to check the load. What if you go from 100 users to 10 million users? Can your machines handle that? I don't think that PC at home is going to do it, right? So you need to be able to have load balancing across multiple servers. What if hackers from China are trying to get into your app? Not that would ever happen, right? So anyway, so all of these things are just things that are not even related to that next Facebook, next Twitter that you're trying to write, right? There's no relationship because you have to do all these things regardless of what app you're writing. So that's the problem, all right? That is the challenge we're trying to address. And these are the things that if you do it yourself, do-it-yourself hosting has these extra things that you don't really think about originally because you're so excited to build your app. Now you have to worry about serving your app, okay? Because buying this hardware is not cheap, right? It takes a lot of money to do it. And then what if the users don't come? Right? If you don't get any users, you've wasted all this money and you just got sitting machines not doing anything, all right? So that's bad. But the thing is, what if you don't buy enough and you do reach 10 million users? Well, then you have 10 million bad users that will stop using your service and then you're dead, all right? So those things are really bad. So, and then you have to worry about upgrading, license fees, and monitoring, load balancing, and things like that. So all of these issues are things that when the Google Appengine team decided to create this product, they wanted to address. All right, so that's really the motivator behind it all. So Appengine was created as all-in-one solution. It's in a box. All right, it's easy to start with. What does that mean? That means we try and make it as free for as long as possible. So we have a very nice, generous free quota that I'll tell you about. It's easy to scale, meaning you don't have to do anything, right? If your app gets 10 users today and you have 10 million tomorrow, Google should fall over, right? If we did fall over, then that's kind of a bad sign. Have you guys ever gone to Google.com and done a search and actually had an error? Ever? Once, even? Maybe? Once, okay? Once. This doesn't happen very often, right? Because there's teams of people that are working hard to ensure that doesn't happen. So we want to provide the same level of service for your apps. All right. You should be able to scale from 10 to 100 million users pretty easily. All right. And I'll also show you guys, later on in this presentation, I'll give you guys some examples of existing customers that we have. But for the most part, most of you, most of us will write regular apps. We're not going to hit 10 million tomorrow, so everything's okay. But just in case you do, we're able to help you out. And then easy to maintain means, you still have control of all your software. Just because you upload it to us, to Google doesn't mean we own it. You still have the source tree where you work and develop, so that's fine. If you need to make a change, just upload the new version and just set what the default version is that your users will hit. If you discover there's some sort of bug, just roll it back to the previous version. It's very easy to control everything over the web dashboard. Okay? So pretty basic. In other words, Google does all the dirty work so that you don't have to get woken up at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night. Okay, that's not fun, right? We actually have people that will get woken up on your behalf, so we have to worry about you guys, and you don't have to worry about your app. All right? So that's what we do. All right, so let's talk about the pieces. What are the major components of Appengine? There are 4 major components, the language runtimes, which we'll discuss soon. There's also a nice web-based administration console. I told you about the dashboard, and I'll go over that. And then there's a software development kit, that's the SDK. So it comes with the development server as well as the client libraries that you can just download today if you want. And there's also the scalable infrastructure, all right, which you guys don't have any control over, but that's really Google. So what are we? What are the machines that you're actually running on? So Google as a company, we run ourselves on a Linux type of operating system. It's pretty much custom made. So and then we also have the Google file system, and then we have the big table, which is the scalable distributed data store that we have, and then of course the actual hardware is also custom. All right. So Google's needs are so different that we can't just buy computers like from Dell or HP and have to work. We actually have to custom design all of our own hardware because the demands from our users are so high. So everything is custom. We have entire departments that all they do is build hardware. Right? So that stuff you don't have any control over. As far as language runtimes go, right now we support Python and Java, and because we do support Java, there's additional languages that you can use too that run on top of the Java JVM. And as I mentioned in the last talk, Python is barriers included, and so is Java. There's many packages and third-party tool out there for you to get the job done. And I'll talk about this additional language support in a little bit. All right, so the major 2 are Python and Java. And when Appengine was released a couple of years ago, the first API that it launched with was Python. And then when we hit our first anniversary, we released Java. So Java is about a year old, and Python is about 2 years old now. So I don't need to talk to you guys too much about this, but people were always asking, what is Python? What is Python? And I have this slide where I'm describing programming languages, and I actually talk about teaching Python. So the conversation comes up, what are the tools that people use in industry today to get work done? And so we use Java, C++, Python, Ruby, PHP. Those are the main core set of tools. But remember how I said in the last talk that Python is used to teach kids how to program? So that's where Scratch and Alice come in, and of course Python and VB as well. So the interesting thing I always like to note is look what language appears in both lists, right? So it's not a coincidence that that's the case. It just shows you the power of Python, right? So Python is the king of ease of use. Very fast development, very low barrier of entry. Python does not require you to have a computer science degree in order to code effectively in it. All right? It's a very simple, robust syntax. I already talked about that. Lots of packages and modules, and it was the very first one supported by Appengine. So that's pretty easy. Not a lot of things you have to think about. Java, of course, is the king of enterprise. That's all large companies. So in order for us to, have Appengine adopted by larger companies, we really have to use Java. So that's why that was the second API. So that was released a little over a year ago. The good news is that we adhere to as many of the Java standards as possible. So if you've been a Java developer for a long time and you programmed, servlets before, then the model is very similar. You're just going to tweak your way of thinking just a little bit, but everything just maps directly in. We keep the same standard. If you're used to creating a Word directory and then having web.xml files, all that stuff doesn't change, right? There's an IC Eclipse plugin, and then of course with other languages that Java standards for, for web apps are the servlet standards, so we have that. If you use JDM, JPA, communicate as your object relational managers to manage your data, we do the same thing. Both JDO and JPA are supported in Python's data store API. If you're used to using java.net.url for communicating to and from URLs, posting and all that, that maps directly to URL mesh API in Appengine. The same goes for email. We allow you to send email as well as receive incoming email. And then also we have memcache support as well. So if you're a Java programmer, everything should be fairly similar. And of course, there's a nice plugin as well, so that if you do use Eclipse, it's very easy to manage your code, to be able to upload it, and to be able to debug it just like you would with standard Eclipse. You can also develop a Google Web Toolkit apps as well to generate JavaScript for your app. That's not an issue. There also is some NetBeans stuff and some IntelliJ stuff. They're not officially supported by Google, but people are doing it because Eclipse is not the only IDE that people use for Java development. So they're all alternatives. So if Python and Java are not good enough, there's a bunch of languages that run on top of the JVM, and here are some of them. So if you want to do Ruby or Scala, Ruby, PHP, JavaScript, you can run all those using the Java runtime for Appengine. And if you really want to, you can also do Python on top of Java as well. And so people are like, well, why would I do that one? Oops, why would I do Python when I can just do Python? And the main reason is if you've already developed it, you spent a lot of time and effort developing some Java classes, and you really need to reuse those in Python, then you can just do so using Python. Right? So that's the main use case. Existing access to existing Java classes. And you can't do that if you do it in pure Python. Okay? All right, so let's talk about the web-based admin console. So this console gives you full control over your app, or as much control as we're allowed to give you. So with this, you can monitor how well your app is doing. You can check out where the errors are coming in, how often they're happening. You can find out how close to your quota you are. So here's a bigger picture of what your dashboard really looks like. So you can see this is the amount of traffic that you're getting, like number of requests per second. In other words, how many users are hitting your app every second for the past 24 hours. All right, so you can see that there's a little bit of spike over here. All right, so this number is 0.596, so 0.6. So you're getting less than 1 request per second in this particular case. But that's okay. Maybe you don't have a lot of traffic, all right? But it is getting some usage. Okay. Also, you can see whether you're getting close to your quota. You set up your budget, so that that you don't go over. So if you get close to your budget, you get a warning to tell you that you're close. If you need to add more budget, that's fine. You can do that. But if you exceed your budget, we just don't let you get those services, so you get an error back. Right? We don't let you spend more than you want to. Right? You can find out what are the current URLs that people are putting down. You can find out about your errors. You can control lots of stuff like check out your data, you can check your logs, you can even download your logs if you want to. You can change your settings for your app. You can add additional developers that have the ability to upload to your app. You can check out your billing settings and your billing history to find out exactly what you're paying for. All right, so there's a lot of different things that you can do on your dashboard. In fact, this is actually an old dashboard, so we have to give you more information now than you see in this graph. Okay? So that's the dashboard. There's also a status page to tell you how well Appengine is doing. So again, this is like well over a year old, so we've got a lot more information now than what you see here. But it basically tells you, what's working, if there's any issues with APIs, you see like a question mark telling you that we're investigating it. So just so that you can see that we're monitoring the system, and we want to let you be able to monitor the system as well. So this is all Appengine. This is the whole system, not just your own. All right, so the SDK contains a local development server, so you can actually run it on your own box first and test it out, make sure everything's working. Deploying is very easy. If you use any of the UIs, it's just a simple one-click deploy, and type in your password, and you're done. Like I said earlier, you can manage multiple versions of your application, and then of course, you have the client libraries that give you access to all of the APIs. All right, so a little bit about customers, like who is using Appengine today. I often get asked the question, blank, because Appengine do. All right, so these are some of the numbers that we can share publicly with you. The real numbers are actually going to be bigger than these now. Okay, so this data is very old, but this is what we're allowed to say to you. All right, so there are over 100,000 applications now running, over 100,000 Appengine applications. Actually, I think this number is a lot higher, actually. And you know, not all of them are active at any given time. Some don't really get any traffic at all. That's not a problem. We don't charge you anything. If you don't have traffic, you're not using it, then it's okay. Right? There's more than 250,000 developers out there, Appengine developers, and we saw a lot of them come to San Francisco to the Google I/O conference last month. So it was great to see some of the developers there. And at one point, we were able to show 250 million page views from Appengine apps altogether in one day. All right, and we didn't have any issues when we did that. Okay, so that's how much Google infrastructure can serve you. All right, so let's talk about specific customers. Now, of course, you know, normal customers are not going to use this much traffic, but I just want to show you how well Appengine scales, just in case you need this. So here are some examples of existing Appengine developers. So there's eBay. Of course, they don't run their entire website off of Appengine, but they do have certain parts that do run on Appengine. Internally, Google Labs also uses it. Best Buy is a very big electronics retailer in America, so they use it. And Social Walk is a company from Singapore. Anybody familiar with Social Walk? Okay. Yeah, so they're kind of like the Facebook, Twitter for companies. So that's what they do. So look for a job there if you're using Appengine. Okay. Today I'm going to talk specifically about this one, Buddy Poke, and this one, Beacon. So Buddy Poke, how many of you are, actually you guys are Facebook users, right? You guys heard about Super Poke. All right, so there's a lot of people that want more than Super Poke, so that's where Buddy Poke comes in, because it has like cuter avatars, you can do more stuff, they move, and they're more fun. So, and they also on many social networks, so not just Facebook, but MySpace, Orkut, Hi5, Bing, Vivo, Hives, Friendster. So they have a lot of they're on a lot of social networks. Okay. So the developer who developed Buddy Poke, he's got over 62 million registered users now. 62 million registered users around the world. And of all of these, on Facebook, he has 3.6 million DAOs, or daily active users. So every day, 3.6 million users come and play with their Buddy Poke every day on Facebook, right? And 1.9 million DAOs on MySpace. And then, of course, that's not even counting all the other social networks that he's on. So if you add them all together, it's at least 5.5 million active users every day. All right, so we can support at least that number of users. All right, of course, you know, 62 million not all are active, of course, but more than 5.5 or 6 million are active every day. Okay, so that's one type of scale that we're able to provide for you. There's another type of scaling that we do. So this company called Giga, what they do is they focus on very special events. They make a website for one event and that's it. But that one event's going to have a lot of traffic. Like, I don't know who's doing the one for the World Cup, all right, but that's going to be a very busy website over the next few weeks, right? Okay. Similarly, you know, if President Obama from the U.S. wants to have a town hall meeting or something, if they want to have a website for it, or there's a movie promotion, they want to do something. Okay, so these guys, I think they're based out of Israel, but they make one-shot websites that will get a lot of traffic and then you throw it away, or you maybe take what you need and reuse it somewhere else. Okay, so that's the purpose of this type of app. So you can see, remember how in the dashboard when we looked, we saw that app that was getting less than 0.6 requests per second, right, in the dashboard? So this is a dashboard of a Giga app, okay? So you can see that, you know, when it was announced publicly, you can see the traffic is ramping up, and then when the actual event started, it really spiked. And then when the event ended, it slowly went down. Okay, but what you probably can't see is these numbers over here. So remember how the one on the dashboard was like less than 0.6 requests per second? This first one here is 400 requests per second. 400 users hitting Appengine at the same time every second. Okay, 400 requests per second, 800, 1200, and they reached 1,600 requests per second. Okay, and we're able to scale for them. Okay, it's just very large numbers. And this is actually old. They've actually gotten up to multiple thousands of simultaneous hits at the same time. So that's the kind of scan that Appengine can give you. And remember, if you choose not to use Appengine, you have to do this yourself if you become this popular. All right, so that's kind of scary. I mean, I just can't imagine being able to build any machine that is able to take that kind of traffic. It's crazy. Right? So anyway, so that's another type of app that scales. Okay, so far I've been talking about web apps, but there's another type of app that is very popular with Appengine, and they're not web apps. Okay, not all apps are web-based. So let's talk about mobile phones. All right, so you got your iPhone, you got your Android phone, you got your BlackBerry. You have apps running on them. That's great. But if you have additional data that you have to worry about, something that's large enough that it won't fit on your phone, you can choose to do it in your own data center again. You're going to have to find machines, you have to have a load balancer, you have to do databases, you have to manage all that stuff, or you can just upload it to Appengine. We can manage all that stuff for you. So your mobile phone app will just talk to Appengine, send data back and forth. You can let us manage it for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. All right. So you really need to do back office processing. You really want to have to build your own and have to manage it. No. We suggest you go cloud with Appengine. We can take care of that for you. You don't need to have a UI. All right. Your app, all it has to do is just make a URL call. Just a post and a get on HTTP. That's all you really need to do. All right. Appengine is a great place to store user info, like contact information or user high scores if you have a game, maybe medals or levels that people reach or something like that. See, all those things you really don't have to store on the phone, because what if the user loses their phone or something, or it breaks or they drop it in water or something, right? When they get a new phone, all that stuff is gone. So would it be safer to push it up to the cloud so that if they get a new phone, they can immediately sign back into the game and get all their old data back? I mean, that'd be great, right? And you can even give a better user interface, okay? So instead of looking at their high scores only on their phone, maybe you can give your users the ability to check their high scores on the web, right? So moving your data around, putting it somewhere else, all right? So I guess the main point of the slide is to tell you that not all apps have to be web-based, okay? We have a lot of apps that are like this that use Appengine as their back office app and doesn't really serve anything that's user-facing. Okay, so let's talk about specific features in Appengine, and as well as what we're working on. Okay, so before I get into the details, I have to tell you the bad news. Bad news is you're writing an app. You're writing an app. You're both running on the same machine. You would be unhappy at you if you were hogging up the CPU and not sharing with this person, all right? So, or maybe you're a secret agent for China or the Singapore government, and you're trying to hack into somebody else's app, all right? So those are security problems, right? So in order to prevent those things from happening, you have to run in what's called a sandbox. So you're running in a restricted environment, and so there's certain things that we do not allow you to do. You are not allowed to create a local file. You are not allowed to open up a network connection, okay? But then you got to be thinking, if I can't open up a network connection, this is a pretty useless system. The main point is to be able to communicate to the outside world, right? Okay, so then I tell people, hey, so if you do want to open up a network connection, why do you want to open up a network connection? And people go, oh, because I want to be able to post and get URLs, or I want to be able to store things through a database, or I want to send and receive email, or I want to do instant messaging, or SMS, or something, right? Okay, so instead of giving you the ability to open up a network connection, we're giving you higher level APIs that you can do these things with, all right? So here's what some of the APIs are. So Memcache, so getting the data store is great. We have a very powerful, scalable, distributed data store for you. But you really don't want to hit that all the time because it's so scalable. There's certain prices to pay to make it scalable. Right? So it's not going to work as fast as the database. So we always recommend that you cache things. Okay? So that's what Memcache does. We don't let you open up a network connection, but you want to really get or put something to another URL, should be able to do that. So we'll give you URL fetch. If you want to send and receive email, if you want to send and receive instant messages, Or if you want to have, processing that's not related to user interaction, right? You want to just do stuff on the side. So that's what task views are for. So you can just fire off some processing in the background that it's not user-facing at all. Images, so we give you the ability to upload, resize, crop, create thumbnails, things like that. It's very basic, doesn't really have a lot of features. And then blob store is if you really need like large disk space, so like you need to upload music or movies, film, videos, things like that. So you can store up to 2 gigs per file with blob store. And then of course user authentication. So you can always roll your own, which means you can create logged in passwords for your users. Or you have the option to use, requiring your users to sign into their Google account. Or if you don't want to do just Google, you want people to be able to log into their Yahoo or their AOL or MySpace or whatever, you can do that too. Right? So that's the OpenID federated login. But the default is just Google accounts because we want everybody to have a Google account. But we understand the whole world does not revolve around Google, so that's why we added the OpenID feature so that you can use authentication with identities that you create elsewhere. All right, so here's an interesting review of how Appengine has evolved over the last 2 years. I'm not going to go over all of these, but you can see that we launched in April 2008 with Python, and then the very next month we added images and memcache, and then so forth, and on, and then 1 year later we did the Java launch. And Appengine became 2 years old in April 2010 this year. And then last month, that's when we added the OpenID OAuth. We also added a new product called Appengine for Business, so that if companies want to have, more reliable Appengine, if they want to have it where it's guaranteed an SLA, we can do that. There's also a new bulk loader for uploads and downloads of your data. So you can see that we're always making improvements to the product. We're always adding things to listen to our users. We're looking at the needs of the marketplace, and we're having our engineers build those things for our users. So it's always evolving. You can't really, we don't stay still so that we don't have to worry about becoming obsolete. We're always adding new features to it. All right, so I talked about the generous free quota, so let's take a look at what that means. We basically give you a quota so that you can have a website that gets about 5 million page views a month. Okay, so if you're not going to hit that, then you'll never have to pay. All right, because it's you're not using enough resources that require you to pay. Yes, I have a question.
I saw kindness queries within the site. How does it look like?
Oh yeah, right. So the data store is not a relational database. Okay, so that's actually one of the most difficult things for Appengine users to understand. It is not relational. It is not SQL. There are no schemas. It's a schemaless data store system. It's more like an object store. You make an object and you store it. So when you query, you just say, give me all the objects that are in this category. You don't say specific types. That's why it's kind of not specific. Of course, that makes me wonder what was it before that. But I think it's a little bit more flexible query. I think in the past you actually had to say what kind of query you were trying to get. Now I think you can get multiple types of objects back as long as it meets the criteria that you're asking for. I think that's what it is. I just joined Google half a year ago, so I'm still kind of new to it. So that was a little bit before my time. But if you're really curious, you can just stick with the online documentation. Because whenever we make a release, we fully document everything. All right, free quotas. So you get 6.5 hours of CPU hours a day, which is I think a couple thousand a month. So this is actually using the CPU. If your application is loaded, but if you're not using the CPU, we're not going to charge you. Okay. So this is not clock time. This is not deploy time. Okay. We're not supposed to talk about the competition. Okay. But just as an example of a contrasting system is Windows Azure. Where you can run a .NET system on Microsoft's cloud environment. As soon as you click upload, you're starting to pay. Okay? Whether your app is uploaded or not, or running, it doesn't really make a difference. Whether you get traffic, it doesn't matter. You have to pay 12 American cents, so I guess that's about 15 Singapore cents per instance per hour, times 24 hours, times 30 days. $4 a month, even if you get no traffic. Okay, and it'll just keep on. You're just going to get billed $100 every single month, even if your app is not running or you're not getting traffic as well. For Appengine, it's all free. It doesn't really count. One of my coworkers, unfortunately, was trying it out, and he forgot to turn off his app and reveal it, and he just got his bill on his Google credit card, and it was like $400 Singapore dollars on his credit card because he forgot to turn off and delete his app on Azure. So you have to be very careful, right? So Google is trying to take the opposite way of thinking, which is we don't really want to charge you if you're not using the system. It's not fair. So we only charge you if you exceed what is the part of the quota. You also get 1 gigabyte of incoming data and 1 gigabyte of outgoing data. There's also 1 gigabyte of data storage. It doesn't really sound like a lot, but you're really storing data entities which are stored in binary anyways, so they're not really going to take up a lot of data, all right? Blob store, that's completely different, right? So we're just talking about data stored. It's something you put in a database, not something like a blob store that has its own billing. Okay, if you really want to find out more about billing and quotas, how much things cost, the website has everything. Okay, but I'm just talking about the free quota right now. You can send 2,000 emails a day. You can create, 100,000 of those background tasks. Those are tasks on the side that are not user-facing. You can make 650,000 calls to different URLs per day, and you can send and receive 650,000 instant messages a day. And so that's the free quota. Now, so here's a little bit of an extra. So if you guys trust Google and you give us your credit card because you trust us, we'll give you even more free quota. Okay? So that's what these extra numbers are for. So if you give us your credit card, instead of 100,000 taps a day, you can do 1 billion. And instead of 650,000 URL fetched, calls to different URLs, you get 46 million. And the same goes for instant messages. Now, why you would send and receive 46 million instant messages a day, that's kind of worrisome. I don't think I can do 46 in a day, much less 46 million. But I guess if you have a bot and you're communicating with people on computers and pinging them on status changes or whatever, I guess you can approach that. But to me, I don't think I would ever hit that quota. So I would never, ever pay for this. Okay, but that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm just not the right app developer. I just have never heard that kind of app that sends 46 million instant messages. So, anyway, you guys like the free quota? Pretty good, huh? Okay. If you do need to pay more, these amounts are actually in American dollars. So outgoing bandwidth, this is probably about 15 Singapore cents, and then incoming bandwidth about 12 Singapore cents. CPU, extra CPU time also 12 cents. Stored data probably about 18 cents. And then additional emails, if you want to send more than 2,000, then it's like 0.0001 cents per email that you send. Obviously, we don't want you to be a spammer, but if you do have a lot of customers and you need to reach, and you go over your quota, at least you have the ability to pay very little to get the same email. Okay. So this is on top of the free monthly quota. So if you exceeded the quota, this is how much you pay. Okay, what are we going to do in the future? All right, so another part of the restrictions that you have is because we don't want you to hog the machine. We don't want you to take all the resources because you have to share it with your cloud neighbors. Okay? We don't let you run anything for more than 30 seconds. So if you're making a call to Facebook to get some data and Facebook is running really slow and you get 30 seconds, you just terminate your process right away. Right? So you have this restriction. Now, some people complain, I'm gathering sources from multiple areas, and I know it's going to take more than 30 seconds, so is it possible I'll pay? I'll pay to get longer running processes more than 30 seconds. So we're working on being able to provide that. I think that's a lot of work to do. We want to give the ability for people to run processes that do work, right? Another thing that happens is if your app is not running, we quote spin you down. What does that mean? We take your app off of a machine because other people are going to be using it, right? And so some people don't want to have to wait to have your program get loaded again, okay? Because if your app is not running and nobody uses it, we spin you down, and then the first time your user comes back to your website, we find out that somebody wants a call, we have to load it back up. And some people don't want to wait for that spin-up time because, particularly for Java, it takes a little longer because some people develop with all these complex Java frameworks that take longer to load because they preload all the classes. All right, and so they don't want to have to do this. Okay, so they want to just reserve a machine where if it's not running, we don't spin you down, we just keep you warm, as they say. Right, so people want to pay for that. People want a better backup and restore facility. Okay, so you can see that these things that we're working on are kind of like some people will think that these are our shortcomings or our flaws or some of the problems that we have in the system. They're just like having to be developed in, right? So we do, you can back up and restore your data. That's not an issue. It's that people want to do it faster, and people that have a lot of data also want this, and that's a kind of a difficult part. Okay. They also want to be able to do operations across very large data sets. Okay, so map and reduce. Okay. They also want some of the APIs have their limits lifted. They want it higher. They want, in other words, people just want more free quota. That's really what it is. You can see what we're going to do by going to this website here that says that's our public roadmap. Those are the things that we're actively working on that we can tell people about. So you're just going to keep track of what's coming down the line. This gets people excited because they're waiting for something, right? Something exciting that will really help them know what they're out. All right, so in the tutorial, actually, let's just talk about some of these links in reverse order. So if you want to read more about Appengine and its blog, just go down here at the very bottom. That's the blog for Appengine. If you want to create an Appengine account, you would go to appengine.google.com. You need to have a mobile phone that does SMS because we will text you and then you reply back with the secret code so that we know you're you. And so you can create your thing that way. If you don't have a mobile phone, then find a friend with a mobile phone. Okay, it would actually be scary for anybody in Asia to not have a mobile phone. Okay, in America, this is still the case. You'll find people with no mobile phones, but in Asia, it would just not. There's something not right about that picture. Okay, I mean, people in Hong Kong have like 5 or 6, right? And yeah, I have 4, but I'm weird. You can put a plugin, you need to download that. If you want to go to the main website for Google App Engine, that's that. I have another website, which I can't edit because it's not PowerPoint. And then if you want to actually try it out, so at the tutorial I gave on Wednesday at PyCon, I wanted to go beyond what's available in the online tutorial because it doesn't really explain a lot. It just says, here's how the world is trying to do it. It doesn't really talk a lot. And so I created a tutorial that goes above and beyond the online tutorial. You can find it at this website, bit.ly/SG-GTUG. And what you'll find at that website actually is something very interesting. You'll find there are code labs for all Google APIs, or most Google APIs. So you'll find it for Android, Ajax, HTML5, Chrome, as well as Appengine. So that if you want to play with any of those APIs, these are really great tutorials that you can use online that, it's not official because it's not in the official docs, but it is done by Google employees. So we're just trying to get around, we're just trying to provide something more than just the official docs. So hopefully you guys find that useful. And of course, you'll find that I did the one for Python, and one of my coworkers did the one for Java. So those are just some URLs that you may be interested in. And like I said, you guys will have all these slides here to work on it. These are just the same links, just more specifically what they are. Download, docs, all that happens on the main website. Again, this is where you apply for an account, blog, and we also have a community page. So if you go to the main page here, there's a community link and you can get access to the forums. But the forums aren't the only place you can ask questions. You can also ask questions on Stack Overflow. And the interesting thing about the two is that we're not kind of competing, but it's sort of a different style. Okay, so you can ask questions at both places. But when you ask questions at the Google forums, it's mostly monitored by other users as well as Google employees and things like that. But you have to remember that for myself, I am not a full-time Appengine developer. All right, so I can't always help you with every single question. However, those people do show up on Stack Overflow. So if you want to talk about something with other Appengine users like yourself, then you would go there. But if you need to talk about quota issues, billing, or any general Google and Appengine related stuff, then you come to the forums. All right, so either place is good. But if your question is really hard, you may want to consider asking questions at both places. All right, and we have multiple groups. Stack Overflow just has an Appengine tag, but Google Forms, we actually have 4. So we have the generic Appengine form, and then we have one for Python users, another one for Java users, and then the last one is called Downtime Notify. So for some reason, we have to do maintenance on our stuff, and we're telling you that your app will be quote down for a while, then the Downtime Notify is a place for you to get that information. Not that we go down, okay, so it's obviously bad if you have an Appengine app and your entire company relies on this app. It's not like we're going to make your app stop working, but whenever we go into maintenance mode, we actually turn your data store into read-only mode. So that means your app is still up, you just won't be able to update data. So one of the things you have to keep in mind is when you're writing your app, you have to sort of build into your app what happens if I cannot write to the data store. So you'll have to cache this stuff until it comes back, or you have to post it to some external place that you can replay later. Right? So this is a design consideration that you wouldn't normally have to worry about, but it's just something more special that you can think about when it comes to Appengine. Okay? And the reason for this is because obviously we're trying to reduce the total number of downtimes. We really don't want to have downtimes at all. But there are times when we exceed the capacity at one Google data center. We have to move Appengine to another data center. That's just the reality of it. That we're pretty successful. We're having a lot of users. We're running into space and scale issues. It's kind of ironic that we give you guys a scalable platform, but the problem is the platform itself wasn't meant to be scalable. All right. So it's like we need meta scaling, and that's a problem that we haven't solved yet. So I think in some ways, because we're so successful, we're sort of running into more problems now than we thought would be possible. So we're very happy that there's a lot of people are jumping off to Appengine. We're very happy that people find it to be a very useful tool, because otherwise your alternative is you got to either do it in .NET or a .NET web server, IIS, or you have to do it in PHP or Django and Ruby, and you have to do machines and scaling. You have to worry about all that stuff. So we're happy that we're providing a solution in that way. But you have to keep in mind that now that we're in the cloud, you're basically offshoring your running of your app to us, and we're not we're an atypical type of system. So you have to code your app in a certain way. The other thing that you have to worry about is you have to completely change your way of thinking about data storage. Like I said earlier, it is not a relational database. There's no tables, there's no schema, there's no columns. You don't do alter table when you make changes. All right, you have to think about everything in terms of objects. An object you created last week may not have a field that you added later. Okay, if you have some objects that have this field, you have older objects that don't have this field. Your app needs to be able to handle that. All right, but you don't have to change your schema. That you won't have to do data migration. It's just that the old objects won't have this data. All right, so you got to really think differently. Okay, because it's been proven that relational databases do not scale, and when you have apps to the size of Twitter and Facebook and all of the traffic and data that they generate, there's no way that you can run on a relational database, period. Even at Slack, when we were doing Supercode, no way. I mean, we tried. We had to take our MySQL database and shard it 8 ways, and that was the only way to get it to work. The problem is, how do you merge this information back together? So we had to create some reporting tools that helps collate this data. So we had to do our own map reduce. In other words, we had to custom make our own map reduce to make it happen. It just was not scaling. So we give you a lot of scaling, but in exchange for that scaling, you need to think differently. Okay? All right, so if you do decide to download Appengine and give it a try, we have a UI that you can use for Windows and Mac. If you're a hardcore Linux or Mac OS guy, you can also use the command line. So the commands you will use are web app server to run a development server, or Appengine update to deploy your application live. The hello world is just name the apps, whatever it is that you call your app. Okay. And then, like I said, there's a pretty UI that you can use on Windows as well as Mac. When you create a new application, you get 3 files, or if you have to do it yourself, like if you're on a Linux system where there is no UI, you have to manually type in these 3 files. The main configuration file is called app.ynaml. This is on the Python side. On Java, it's web.xml. And then there's the index.yaml, and then your main application controller goes in main.py. And then, of course, there's a similar main.java. And when you look at the config file, you can see that it says application, the name of your app, what version number, what runtime you're using, Python, the API version, and then down here you have handlers. And the first thing that you give is the URL path. So this regular expression describes all of the URLs that your app can serve. and it will be handled by this controller main.ui. Okay. So in Java, of course, it's going to be different because it's using XML instead of this YAML format, but pretty much the same idea. When you have the Python launcher create the UI create a basic app for you, it just makes the hello world, which kind of looks like this. And then when you run it, run it on the command line or run it on the UI, and you'll just get, you just go to localhost colon 8080 and see your hello world. And it's pretty basic to get started, right? So that's why the online tutorial goes gives you more than that once you run against code. And then my online code lab tutorial gives you more on top of that. So you have multiple levels of introduction to Appengine. If you want to create a real account, like I said, you have to go to appengine.google.com. So this is what this page looks like. You log in with your Google account. And then what you'll do is when you create your application, whatever the name of your application is, you automatically get this domain for free. So your app, appspot.com. All right. And if you want to redirect, from some other domain, that's fine. That's not an issue. Okay. And when you log into your account, you actually get 10 applications that you can write. Right. So this person here, this user has 7 apps already, and he has 3 apps remaining. If you have an app that you're not using anymore, just kind of like, take it down and then you delete it, and then you can get an extra 1 credit into your account. But if you are, if you become an Appengine consultant and you're writing apps for clients and you're going to be more than 10, just kind of like fill out one of the help forms and say, hey, I need more than 10 because I'm developing apps for clients, and here are some examples of it. And then people will review your request and they'll give you more. Okay? Not all guaranteed, but we're pretty flexible with our users. All right. Now, let's say you want to upload and run your app live. So you have to be very careful because a name like Hello World has already been taken. So you're going to have to, right? Or you're going to have to find a name that's unique. All right. It may look ugly, so you're just going to have another domain redirect to it. Okay. But you just have to make sure you make that change before you upload it. And when you upload it, you can either do it by the command line, so app config update and then the name of your app, or whatever it is. Then you have to type email and password. Or you just click it in the UI and it'll just ask you for a password. It'll tell you, be ready to serve in 1 second, 4 seconds, checking back in 8 seconds, blah, blah, blah. And usually it runs in less than 30 seconds. Right, pretty fast to upload and have your thing live to the world, actually. Except if you're in China, it gets blocked. Or maybe Thailand. Okay. Anyway, so it's almost live to the entire world. Right. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then once you're done, guess what? If you go to your app name.apple.com, you can see there's your hello world. Okay, so you can start on today. So guys, leave here, go shopping, get some food, get some dinner, go home, start hacking Appengine. Okay, that's very easy. All right, so just to wrap up, Appengine is part of this cloud computing revolution. There's 3 levels I told you about earlier. Appengine lives in the middle one, which is platform as a service. There's 2 other similar services that we kind of compete and kind of don't. It all depends on the point of view. But Appengine, we try to distinguish ourselves in many ways. We have languages. We support our Java and Python. The code is yours. There's no lock-in. If you do want to reuse your app elsewhere, that's fine too. Like for example, if you want to run a Django app, you can run Django apps on Appengine. But later on, if you feel that hey, I'm big enough to be on my own, I'd rather get my own data center so I have more control over my stuff. Just feel free to take your code and drop it down and run it on at your data center, which does run a Django app, right? So it's not a big deal. We don't own your code. You're not licensing it to Google or anything like that. Okay, it's all yours. Security, like I said, there's just always a security problem, so we have you run your apps in a sandbox environment. But we try to give you a rich set of APIs so that you don't have to freak out and stuff. You should be able to get your job done with the APIs we give you, and if we don't, and we can't, then make a request. Tell us what you want us to do. Right? Tell us what APIs you're looking for. We'll consider it. Obviously, we're already working on many things right now, but we're always open, willing to listen to customers and stuff like that. So that's what my job is. My job is to interface between Appengine and all you guys, the global developers you can be out there. Appengine is easy to start with. We give you a great free quota. I know some people that have had an app running for 2 years that have never had to pay anything to Google at all, period. Because they get a lot of traffic, but not enough to cover the quota. All right. As certain days will be high, other days it won't, but in general, a lot of people go to apps pretty happily without paying, and some people, when they pay very little. 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, even up to $150, $200, but they get a lot of traffic. So we scale with you, and for the future, we're just going to try and improve the performance. We're trying to prevent any downtimes from happening. Hopefully we get into a data center that we can live in for a long time without having to move again, and adding new features that the user community is looking for. So these are all things that we're working on. All right, so that's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions? Okay, you first.
Yeah. Okay, about the security, does the Google Appengine handle some attack like DDoS?
Okay. There's a DOS API, so that we actually have a tool within the dashboard. You can actually monitor which are the biggest IPs that are hitting you, and you can actually create a blacklist and filter them out. So that's the first line of defense for DOS. We're working on improvements to that. Maybe you want to filter geographically or by blocks of IPs and things like that. So that's other future enhancements that we're considering. But right now it's just a basic blacklist. That's better than nothing, because we've had some apps where unfortunately they're getting hit by Russian robots and it's making their quota go over and they're having to pay. So we're very understanding of that. And so when users tell us that situation, we look and we check if that's the case. We'll actually give you your money back. So pretty nice about that. So yeah, so DOS, you have a DOS API. Yes?
Yeah, so the Appengine for business offers similar features and freebies.
Appengine for business is pretty much the same as regular Appengine, except we have an SLA. Also, enterprises have been really, they really don't understand non-relational, right? So they're really asking for SQL. So that's another thing we're working on, is to giving, if they don't want a scalable non-relational data store, we'll just give them a non-scalable relational data store. Okay, so, but they're asking for it, so we're just going to give it to them. If they're going to pay, then we'll get it. So we have a team that's dedicated to try and building a SQL database on top of Bigtable. All right, so Bigtable is, there's a research paper, it's a white paper, it's out online, and we'll find it very easily to get an idea of how the Bigtable works. But yeah, people are going to do well, so we're going to do well. And then we're going to give it SLA, so we're going to promise that we have a 99.99% uptime, and if that's not the case, then there's going to be some financial consequences involved. So we're trying to guarantee level of service. That's really what we're trying to do for business. Not that we're not trying to guarantee level of service for non-business users, but they're paying extra money for it. And they're also paying for paid support where they can actually talk to somebody on the phone. Right? So yeah, so in the future we'll be looking for customer service representatives. Talk on the phone with users. So if you guys are bored, you like talking on the phone, listening to the user screaming at you, feel free to reply to people and have a nice good job listening to people yell. Yes, sir.
Question: how is it easy to export data from the data store?
Is it easy to export the data from the data store? So like I said, right now, there is a bulk loader, and bulk loader is for bulk loading and bulk downloading as well. Of course, it takes a long time if you have a lot of data. So we're trying to work on something that performs a little bit better, there are certain people that have created backup and restore capabilities. They've built separate projects that you can integrate with Appengine to help do that. There's one called Google Appengine Backup and Restore, so GAEBAR. So he calls it GABAR. And it's pink. So you can look that up. Just Google Appengine Backup and Restore. Okay, this happens to be called GABAR, and you made a game. Right? I can't control that. But what that does is it takes your data and it streams it. It kind of like collapses your data into blobs that he stores in the blob store. So you're kind of like using Appengine, another Appengine app, to back up your Appengine app. Okay, so that's what GABAR does. There's another one called App Rocket, which will actually cause not only your data to be stored in Appengine as well, but also sync off-site to a MySQL database. Okay, so there's a lot of approaches right now, but we're trying to provide our own Google solution as well. Yeah, it's a good question. Anybody else? Come on, quiet Asian people. Alright, yes, sir.
earning money right now, or are you making losses?
No, we're not making any money right now. So that's why we have Appengine business. So let me just, okay. If you look at us as far as like not making money and losing money, we're definitely a lot better than YouTube. Can you imagine how much YouTube costs to run that whole business? So they have more worries about having to make money. So but yeah, so the end goal is to make money off of it, but also provide users a service that's really valuable. I think that's probably more important. That's why our rates are pretty cheap. I mean, we give a lot of free quota. So it's really about providing a nice, useful service to users and getting you started. And then, when you get big enough and you have enough money to pay, then yeah, that'd be great. But we certainly don't want to charge you right away for if you're not even using the service, you're just trying it out. Okay? You got a question over here?
This I noticed that you have this Google storage. How does that compare against the Amazon SG service?
Okay, so that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about today, although it is related because Google Storage is another solution in the IaaS framework. Right now, it's not like, it's a brand new product. It just got released last month at Google I/O. So even Appengine itself does not have a lot of APIs into the storage yet. So that's another thing that has to be determined, is whether or not should we keep our storage the blob store the way it is now, or should we use Google Storage, right? So we're trying to decide, should we use Amazon or Google Storage, right? No, seriously, we have our own custom-made storage mechanism now, but we may, who knows, maybe some of the VPs will decide we should be using Google Storage too. So that is still up in the air right now. It still has to be determined, but there's nothing I can say publicly at this time. But if you wanted to ask directly, what is the comparison between AWS and Google Storage? I'm not really sure, because that's sort of like not my area of support right now, and it's a very brand new product, so I don't even think we have anybody from my department that's staffing that yet. But I think, just like with Appengine, I think the idea is to create a competitive product to make it priced pretty cheaply for users. I know that they provide a really nice UI actually between people who want to use Google Storage as well as people who have S3. So you could do something like, they have one of these really nice utilities where you can do something like GS utility, Google Storage utility, space, S3:/ or file name on S3 space, GS:// so you can just like copy your files between Amazon and Google Storage just with a command. So I know they build a lot of really nice, cool, useful tools like that. But I can't say anything about performance or about pricing because I'm not as familiar with those. But I'm sure the website's got to have an FAQ or something because that's obviously one of the first questions people ask. Okay. All right. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I look at somewhere that the customer can only retrieve 1,000.
Okay. So the question is asking, so I heard that with the data store, you can only retrieve at most 1,000 items. And the answer is yes, no. Okay. The answer is it was a limitation that we had in the past that when you made a query to the data store, it would only return those 1,000 objects back to you. But since a recent release, where we added data store cursors, where you can cursor through your database, it's unlimited now. Okay, so that's one of those examples of a limit that people wanted to have lifted, and we worked hard and we provided a service that breaks that limitation. Okay. Question? Yes?
You still have the limit of
1,000 files. I think that's been raised to 3,000. And another way to cheat, if you do it on the using Python, is if you throw all of your PY files into a zip. That's one zip file. So it'll take a long time before you see that. And also, people will ask, how's the performance time? Does it take longer to import a module from the zip? But the thing is, as soon as your app is loaded, that unzipping only takes one time in memory. And so your app will run pretty much normally. So it's not like we will suffer any kind of performance hit if you throw it into a zip file. Okay. Good question. Anything else? Yes?
So I could just learn about using the Java
I'm not as sure about the Java side. Java and I don't get along. Plus, you can tell that I'm mostly a Python person, so I think you can upload jars as well, but I'm not 100% sure what is the limitation there. The other thing that you need to know is that no matter how many files you have, as long as you fit into the quota, you have a maximum of 150 megabytes. So no matter what it is, they all have to fit in less than 150 megs. That's a restriction. I'm sure people want that lifted too, but right now that seems to be workable. Yes, sir.
When is Appengine getting Python 2.6?
When is Appengine getting Python 2.6? Okay, so that's a very good question. It's something that's been asked for a lot. So one of the things that I recommend you guys do is if you do end up using Appengine and there's something that you want or need, or if you want to find out whether a bug or a ticket has been filed on something that doesn't seem like it's working for you, you just go to the issues page. The wiki page has a tab that says issues. And you click on the issues and you see what are the hot button items, what are things that people really want to see, or what are things that are causing a lot of problems for users. And so if you just star it, if you click on star, you're just kind of doing an upvote. And the more people that star something, the more attention that it catches with the engineering team. So my team is responsible for monitoring this list to see what are the big things that people are looking for. So you know, I don't have my computer here. I don't want to mess with Marcus's, but if you just go to that page, you'll see like the #1 requested item is PHP. So it's really funny. And the answer is no. We won't do PHP. And so, in fact, almost 3,000 people have asked for PHP. I'm sorry, we have to say no. And then the next one is like somebody wants like Perl. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. Okay. Okay, no, really. So, thanks, Marcus. So, code.google.com/p/Google Appengine. And then you just click on the issues link here. There. PHP support is a must. It's a must not. Perl, I told you. Ruby, so you can see the number of stars there are the number of people that have asked for this. Okay. And so Owen's question is this one, 757. I know this number by heart. Okay, please add 2.6 support. We're working on it. A lot of people actually have 2.6 running with that engine. It mostly works, actually. There may be a few, small logging errors that you'll see, but there are a lot of workarounds that have been well documented. So until we come out with 2.6, it's not on the public roadmap. So all I can say is we've acknowledged this problem, but we can't give a timeline. Even if you start working at Google, we can't give you a timeline either. So just think of it as we're working on it. All right. In fact, a related question to that is the one that comes down here, 909. Please add Python 3 support. No, not for another 5 years. Okay, don't quote me on that. Is this being recorded? No, we're not working on it. Not yet. First things first. But anyways, you can see what people are looking for. You can find out bugs. Like if you think there's like a federated login bug, because that's a new feature, you can kind of like look for it. So federated login. So you can see what people have filed. So a couple of federated login things, and of course I've been assigned to a bunch of them. So you'll see my name attached to federated login. So we're working on getting some of those bugs fixed. They only have 72 stars, but it's just. We're making the product not work, and it's a new product, so we're not going to have a lot of stars, and not everybody's using federated login. However, I just wanted to make sure that these are pretty important. I don't want these to have so much stars that people are not using federated login. So the issue page is a good place to kind of like track things like that. Okay. Any other questions? All right, great. Well, thanks for having me. Oh, one more. Last one.
What the OpenID does it support? Like communicating with the session in like Python or Java. Because some URL when we hit and we know it's timeout, then we need to notify the application that the login interception has been completed.
Well, so the question is about OpenID and what happens if you have a timeout with the. Well, right now in Appengine, when it does federated login, it doesn't have a timeout. You can take as long as you want. What we do is we create a link that forwards you out to the third-party authentication provider, and then we provide a callback. So when you eventually log in, it comes back and tells Appengine that you've logged in.
But what does the application knows that this has been completed?
Oh yeah, what to determine whether or not somebody actually has been logged in or not? Yes. So you can actually ask information about the current user. So you just say users.getCurrentUser, and if it comes back as a none object, that means they're not logged in. But if they are logged in, then you have all of their login information. So yeah, so you can tell whether or not somebody's logged in very easily, and you can also require logins if you want as well. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we enjoy this beautiful Saturday outside? All right. Thank you for coming, everybody.